There are a lot of different ways you can light a portrait, but most of them start with understanding a few basic lighting patterns. Now, in this series, I'm breaking down the most common portrait lighting patterns and showing you how to create each one, what it does to the face, and when you might want to use it. Now, there are three main areas that I personally like to put portrait lighting into: facial lighting patterns, lighting direction or lighting technique, and secondary lighting or auxiliary lighting. Now, each one gives you a different way to control the light, shape the face, and create a specific look. In this video, we're going to be talking loop lighting. Now, loop lighting is very similar to Rembrandt lighting, and the main difference is the shadow does not connect on the side of the face. So instead of having a triangle, you have more of a little loop of light over there next to the nose. And so you typically would use loop lighting when you kind of want the Rembrandt look, but you don't want it to be as moody or have as much drama. So with that being said, let's jump in. Let me show you how to get loop lighting, and then we'll talk about when you may want to use loop lighting, especially over Rembrandt. Now, loop lighting is set up the same exact way as you do Rembrandt lighting. The only difference is that the shadow does not form a triangle. You leave it open, so it creates more of a loop of light on the side of the nose versus a triangle. But your 45-45 still remains the same. Now, if you can see right here, we can see that we have that triangle of light, and essentially what that is the shadow from the unlit side of the face connecting with the shadow that's being cast by the subject's nose. Now, of course, when it comes to Rembrandt, the nose is gonna really play a factor in how easy or difficult it is to get that shadow and where you have to place your light. I know this is about loop lighting, but just throwing that out there. So there we have the Rembrandt. So the only difference between loop and Rembrandt is that the shadow doesn't connect. So you can see here we have this loop of light right here. Here's that shadow part of the face, and it doesn't connect right there. So if we pull this back around, now we have it connecting, so that's Rembrandt. If we simply just shift the light around just a little bit, now we get a loop of light, and you can determine how much of that shadow you get based off of how much you move the light over. Now, if you get too much in front of your subject, you're going to start getting into butterfly lighting, which I have a video on that. So you do have to watch that there, but you can determine how big that shadow is based on how much you bring the light around. But your essential starting point is the same as Rembrandt. Your 45 off camera axis, light 45 down, and then you just adjust to your taste. Loop lighting is probably one of those patterns I'd use when I don't necessarily need the lighting to scream, hey, look at me. You get a nice little shadow from the nose onto the cheek, so there's some shape there, but it still feels pretty natural. Now, this is great for headshots, personal branding, corporate portraits, even just a regular portrait session. So like if I'm shooting a business owner for their website, this is an easy place to start. It gives me enough dimension to keep the face interesting without making the image feel overly dramatic. Now, the downside is that it can feel a little safe if you're trying to make something really stylized. But for everyday portrait work, it's hard to go wrong with loop lighting.